Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Richard. Today we are going to look at the domain and range of continuous functions. This is going to be a two-part lesson, and so after this one there'll be one more video to watch before you do the activity. We're going to take a look at number lines and inequality symbols. So if we take a look at this first number line, I have two open circles. The way we represent this is that x is between, and I call these symbols sandwich symbols or inequality symbols. And so I have my sandwich up there since they kind of sandwich what's inside. So we have x is between 3 and 8. And notice that it is x is bigger than 3 and x is smaller than 8. X is between 3 and 8. And there are no equal to underneath because we have open circles. 3 and 8 are not included. 3.000001 is included and 7.9999999 is included, but 3 and 8 are not. If we take a look at another one, we have closed dots on 3 and 8. So we have x and our sandwich symbols, and notice our sandwich symbols have equal to on them. X is between 3 and 8 inclusive. 3 and 8 are included. Lastly, we could have one of each, or we could have the flipped version, vice versa. So we have x, and we have our sandwich symbol. X is between 3 and 8. 3 is included, 8 is not. So we're going to take a look at how this affects our graph, and we're going to look at something called domain and range. Domain describes all the x values or inputs. It talks about how far left the graph goes and how far right it goes. The range describes all of the y values or the outputs. How far down does the graph go and how far up does the graph go? Think of, in the alphabet, D comes before R and X comes before Y. So domain goes with X, range goes with Y. We want to take a look at this graph and we want to ask ourselves, how far left does the graph go and how far right? There's multiple ways to do this. I'm going to show two methods and you can kind of pick whichever one works for you. If I want to say where's the leftmost point, I see that I have the leftmost point at -7. And how far right does it go? It goes all the way to +7. I'm going to box in my graph. So if we make our sandwich symbols, we have x's between -7 and 7. Notice I have the equal to because both of those endpoints, those dots, are closed. Another way you can think about it is the point farthest to the left is -7, -5, and the point farthest to the right is 7, 1. Notice I made the x values blue. Because we're worried about the x values for domain, you can look at these blue values, -7 to 7. We don't need to worry about the y values. So for range, we're looking from low to high for the y values. The graph is lowest at that first dotted purple line, and it's the highest at the second dotted purple line. So we know these are y values, so the y is going to be sandwiched in between -5 and 5. It's sandwiched that way, and it has the equal to underneath because we have closed dots. Another way to look at this is the lowest point is -7, -5, and the highest point is 3, 5. If you notice, the purple points are -5 to 5, and so those are the points that the y values that we're going to use for the range. Let's take a look at another one. So once again, domain is left to right. The farthest left that this graph goes is -8, and the farthest right is 6. So we can say x is between -8 and 6. The line is underneath the -8 inequality and not the 6 inequality because the -8 is a closed dot. The 6 has an open circle on it. So it's -8 to 6. -8's included, 6 is not. Another way to look at it is the points are -8, -3, farthest left, and farthest right is 6, 0. Notice I made the -8 and 6, the x values only blue. Those are the ones that we use for our domain. Looking at the y values or the range, they're up and down. So the lowest this graph goes is -3, and the highest it goes is 2. So we have our graph in a box. We have boxed our entire graph in. So we have y's between -3 and 2. These are both solid, filled in circles, so we have the equal to symbols. The bottom point is -8, -3, and the top point we have a tied for the highest, -5, 2, and 3, 2. Notice I have made the y values purple, -3 to 2. Those are the y values we use for the range. This was all about continuous graphs with endpoints. We're going to look in our next video about continuous graphs that go to negative and positive infinity. Thanks for listening.